Oh my goodness. Do you see what I see? Do you see what I see? Everything's wet. They're calling for thunderstorms today. And we're just in the start of fall. And we are in the middle of October. Let me tell you something. I cannot remember how many years ago it's been since we have had this much rain. And it's not measurable like a ton of rain, but like constant rain this early. Normally I know Halloween and we start getting our first rain. But we've been raining pretty much on and off all week. I haven't needed to water anything, which is really cool. So I'm going to go ahead and let's start a garden tour, and I'm going to start from this end because I want to be ahead of the rain because they're saying it's going to start thundering and, well, we'll see. But it has been raining all night. It's been wet and it's just beautiful. Hi, this is Robbie from Southern California, sunny California. And no, it's not, but I'm going to tell you something, the plants are going to love it. Have not gotten to the ponds yet as far as, fixing them up. But they're still running and the animals still come, and I have this extra bowl here. So when they do need some water, it's gotten a little green from the algae. I tried to scrub it off, it wouldn't come off, but green is okay. So I'm gonna leave it. But look at this, isn't this beautiful? I can't wait to really get to it. No hurry, nobody's here, it's just me and Gary. So, well, at some point I'll get to it, but look at the moringa tree. This thing's in a 5-gallon bucket, it's huge and it's so wet, it's bending. This is my meadow. And you can see in here, I've got a squash back there I've got to collect. It looks like a small type of spaghetti squash. I don't know what it is. Tomatoes everywhere. Keep in mind, I didn't plant any of this. I threw some seeds there. Tomatillos all through here. There's tomatillos there. I collected a bunch last night. I'm doing something very special with them. I'm actually pickling them. And see, they're all through there. I just didn't hike back there last night. I want to pick them up because that's one thing. When they fall to the ground, they're perfect. They're wrapped in their own little package, so they stay nice and clean. They can sit on the ground for a month and they'll be fine, but I'm going to get them out probably today. And look at the sugar cane. I should whack some of that down and just munch on it. I used to love, as a kid, I would go to farmer's market. They were the ones that really used to carry it. Some of the grocery stores did. They used to have the old-fashioned ma and pa grocery stores when I was growing up in LA, and I would get sugar cane from them. But later on, as the bigger stores started to come around, I couldn't get my sugar cane, but I could go to farmer's market to the specialty stores, and you'd get this piece, and I would just suck on it, and then when I wasn't using it, I'd wrap it up, put it in the fridge, and I just loved sugar cane. This is a seed head from lettuce. So it kind of broke, and I don't know if, well, there are seeds on there. I might leave it because I have so much of it and let it reseed in here. And then I've got celery. Look at this, a popolo came up. Like I said, I've got the tomatillos, tomatoes. I know there's more in here. There's geraniums in there. More tomatoes back here. See all the tomatoes back there? And that I thought was a broccoli. I don't know, it got so big. And there's a pomegranate tree back there too. And there's something else growing next to the pomegranate tree that, that might be another tomatillo in the back growing. They're full. Tomatillos are really interesting plants. I got to do a separate video on them because they don't grow like tomatoes. You think they do. They look like tomatoes, but they actually don't. The plant has its own way of growing here in Southern California. Let's spin around and let's look at the truck bed and then do it this way. And I want to get this done because if it starts to rain, my phone's not going to be happy, but I figured my phone is supposed to be a little more waterproof than my cameras. I'm going to have to rethink this next spring because it's so hard to get in there. Well, Gary wants to pull this away from the wall. If the truck bed was pulled forward, and it's going to be an ordeal, that's why I keep telling him no, then I could walk around it because it's so wide you can't really, it's high and it's wide, you can't really reach across it, but it's just full. I've got the tomatillos again that I did not plant. Once you have tomatillos, if they're happy in your area, those little things will fall, they'll disappear into the dirt, and then I think animals chew on them and drop the seeds different places, and come spring, you'll start seeing them, but they don't grow fruit in the spring. A lot of times here, they don't even grow fruit in the summer. That's why I want to talk more about tomatillos if you like it. I've got Swiss chard there, I've got the shark fin melon, I had a butternut squash already picked. There were so many spaghetti squash. My granddaughter ate them. I picked them all. She said they were fabulous. Maybe next year I'll get more growing. It's kind of late now in the fall to grow new squash plants. If you've got them growing, then of course they're going to keep going. And until our weather freezes, let's see, this is a male flower, you know, it will keep growing. But once it gets really cold, they'll disappear. The apple trees, I haven't seen any munching on the apple trees, which means the deer are not here. I haven't picked my last watermelon here yet. It's starting to throw new watermelon on here, but I think we're too late. It really got cold last night. Gary put a sweatshirt on. I was out here and it was cold. Now, when I say cold here in Southern California, I'm talking about maybe upper 50s or 60, and that's cold for us. But it's also too cold for the plants. So a lot of that will cause them to stop producing good. Oh, here's a little tiny one. Look at that, that's good to pick. Oh, there's a couple little tiny ones on this one. This really needs to all be redone. I'll let it do its thing, and then as the winter comes in, I'm going to start getting all my totes ready. Wow, this has been set up now. Let's see, we've had 3 grows. The first year, last year. So it's been set up 2 years. I really looked back at this and thought it was older, and it wasn't. It was only 2 years old. So this has just been fabulous, and the chairs have lasted. You know all about the chairs. These were chairs that my daughter didn't want because the paint was kind of coming off, the white paint, the white plastic. So I took them from her. She was going to throw them out, and I painted them with the house paint you get at Home Depot or Lowe's, like this scrap paint that they're throwing out, the tester paint that people have returned. They give them some sort of credit, and it adheres to it. If you got a chair that's the paint is bad on it, that's when the paint will really adhere to it. You can use it and sit on it. So they were all painted for parties, for the kids' parties, my grandkids. And then we had all these beautiful, colorful chairs. Well, we weren't doing parties with the pandemic, so this got all set up. And these chairs, some of them are close to 20 years old. That one's over 20 years old. So keep that in mind. Don't throw any chairs away. Well, throw them away and call me, and I'll come pick them up. But this has not been repainted. These were painted a good 15 years ago, maybe, yeah, about 15 years ago. And they've held up really, really well. Once you paint them and they're in bad condition, the chairs, they really hold up. Okay, I want to get through this because I can feel it's going to rain. Here is my new turmeric table, and it's doing fabulous. And go back and watch the video if you're interested, because the turmeric is not growing in soil. It's growing in leaf matter from the pepper tree. Everything that was picked up under the pepper tree, just scraped up, thrown in the pots, and all the extra turmeric that I didn't get a chance to plant, I planted in the leaf matter, and it is doing wonderful. Really, really good. See, there's like mushrooms coming up here. See the little mushrooms? You don't eat those. That shows it's still working and breaking down the soil. It's turning into compost. Uh-oh, I'm getting hit with raindrops. So, oh, see here? That's a good thing. That shows that it's alive. My soil that I'm creating in here, look at that, is alive. And it's causing the fungi to grow, and it's creating the plants a happy place to live. So this is going to be a really good place to set up more ginger and turmeric. It was in the shade for the hot summer, though now it wouldn't mind to have some sun because we've cooled down. But I'm ecstatic over that. And then here, I had to cover it. This is ginger. I'm going to keep it covered right now in case I don't get back and it starts to rain. There's more ginger under there. These are those dish pans. They're 4.5 gallons. This worked out really good too. Same thing, all the leaf matter was put in here and the ginger is growing. This is the walking onions. I just grab them and push them in. See the mushrooms growing through there because it's still breaking down, but the walking onions, they were nothing when I pushed them in here. Just the little bulbs, they're growing really good. The only problem with this is I have a friendly rabbit who's been hanging around over there, and he can hop on there, and he actually took a liking to eating ginger. And that's not the ginger itself, but the green part, because it tastes good. And he found out it tastes good, so he started munching on it. So I had to cover it. So I'll get a better covering system later on when I have time, but that's going to work out good. It just lowered to the ground. See how high that table is that Gary found in the trash? This one's lower, and so it's easy. Oh, yeah, look, we gave him a step, gets right on there, and he can just sit and enjoy himself. He's under the trees, nothing's going to bother him. So let's look down here, the wall. The wall is doing good. I'm going to leave everything right now because the squash is still producing big time. See all this? This I'm going to leave because I can't grow new squash plants, but I can cater to the plants that are already here. Now the tomatoes, I'll just trim them up really good and maybe give them some compost tea. I've got tomatoes in here and tomatoes in there, and I've got some Swiss chard. Too much Swiss chard. If you have one plant in a tote or two, you'll get massive leaves, but there's like a dozen plants in there, so they'll be small. This is Korean melon. That much I know. See, there's a little Korean melon starting. Another plant that tends to grow a lot in the fall. I don't know what's going to happen with the cooler weather. And then, of course, I've got my pitcher there. I haven't added too much. Oh, it's all broke down. Everything I put in there is broke down. I better get some more leaves in there. So I'm going to get that fed and get that fed. And then here, let's see, I don't have anything in here. I should collect the garlic chive seeds. Not when it's raining. I'll let it dry. I have tons of it, so it doesn't matter. This is the squash. It's growing out, look. So it might grow some more squash. There's nothing in here but garlic chives. See what I'm talking about? This is one Swiss chard. Look at the size of the leaves. They're like elephant ears because it's got the whole tote with the onions. So if you want your plants bigger, you grow less. If you don't care about bigger, then you grow more. But this is really nice. I've been coming out here and you can see from the bottom, I've been harvesting and using them for our meals. Let's see, I think, oh, there's more. Oh, hey, I got to get the big one off, and then there's a new little one coming up in here. I haven't even looked through here. I took one off the other day, so I think we're good on this. Let's see. Wait a minute. Oh my gosh. Yep, look at that. So we'll take that one off in the next day or so. Not sure if, oh yeah, look back. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Okay, so I've got that. We'll see if that one grows. There's actually nothing in that tote. That tote is empty. The plant died back and I'm leaving it. This one is coming from here and it is still growing and it's winding around. The reason I left this plant, I think this is the one that's now 2 years old. That's why it's so long and it winds and winds. It's a good 2 years old. So that is doing good. Now here, and there's squash, there's zucchini. This is where the cardboard boxes came out of, and I left everything. So this is great soil, and I'm not sure how I'll plant in the spring, but I'm going to probably put totes. I want to remove the peppers out of here. A lot of the tomatoes died back. It could be lack of food. It could be a lot of things. I have noticed that sometimes the sun golds don't last as long as the other tomatoes, though I have a few sun golds on there. If I grab these tomatoes and grow them from seed, they won't be necessarily sun gold. They're usually a hybrid because a lot of the sun gold, not all of them, are made. So they're hybrid plants and you're getting a certain specific variety that was designed. So I'm probably just gonna not worry about it, but what I am gonna do, and I have been doing, is see the tops? I'm looking for the nicest part of the plant and I'm going to root those and see if I can hold them over winter. Beans, and then here I've got some more squash coming up. I don't think I put that there. Coming up from seed out of the compost. I keep picking cucumbers. I am so excited with this cucumber plant. Here it is. And they are beautiful. They're sweet and they're huge. I just picked them all. I don't know if there's any. Oh yeah, see there's a little one here. See there? So they're still growing. We'll see how much, how much longer it lasts. I don't know. Look at all the tomatillos. Again, they pop up and if I like where they are, I just leave them. Isn't that cool? And when I find them on the ground, I pick them up. They're wrapped in their own little package and they do really good. This is an eggplant that came up. Oh, okra. And yes, I planted this. Look, I've got okra. Isn't that cool? I've got okra in a few different places. I figured I better get it planted quick. I believe my daughter gave me those seeds. She grows a ton of okra, all different kinds. I think that was called giant okra. So don't quote me on that, but I believe that's what she told me. And then this is eggplant that came up on its own. I'm going to get that wrapped so the rabbits won't get in there. I had to put a basket over it because they ate it down and it grew back. This poor tomato plant got eaten by deer. It got eaten by tomato hornworms once the Orioles left, and now it's making a comeback. So hopefully I can hold on to this all winter and have the occasional tomatoes. And what you see growing up there is Malabar spinach. And I put those wire racks that you can get really cheap that mesh, and they're going up the racks. Isn't that cool? Now my corn, I don't know if I'll try again, but I've got corn. They're small. See how you can see how fat they are on the bottom? So they didn't pollinate that good, but we'll see. I haven't picked them yet, and I should get them off and see how good they are. Because one year I grew them that way, and I didn't want them. My daughter came over, and she grabbed them. She said, I'll take them, and she said they were sweet like sugar. So we'll see, but they're ready to come out. It's supposed to be a white corn. I really wanted yellow corn. Squash, 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 nothing on the bottom here. And you know what? We'll do the rainbow garden last. So I'll just keep walking through here. Eggplant, I did not pick any. Again, Gary's the only one that really eats eggplant unless I'm frying it. So I'll get the eggplant off, and then the yellow ones, I'll just compost them. And then I've got peppers. I've got those are semi-hot peppers, and those are the black cobras. They're really hot celery. This is kabocha, and it's coming out of here. And it went in different directions. So I've got it growing that way. You can see the flowers. I don't know if it's going to throw anything this late in the year. And then I've got it growing this way, and it's going up. So we'll see what happens. A lot of Malabar spinach, but I really didn't plant it. It's from last year. See what it's done? Isn't that cool? I actually helped it up by putting poles there and stuff and letting it climb up. I think it looks nice. Walking onions, more Swiss chard, just things I got to clean up. I have a dozen gardens I've designed, and that is really too much for one person, but I love it. And I'll just take my time. Oh, red vein sorrel. Isn't this nice? This is beautiful. You can take chunks off the bottom and replant them, like splitting the plant, or you could grow it from seed. I usually split the plant. Green sorrel. This I had radishes in last year, I think, and I didn't do radishes this year, and I should clean that up and do radishes. It's off the ground, easy to net or keep the birds out if I need to. Look at this. These are not small tomatoes. They're medium-sized tomatoes. And it came up on its own. And I'm going to leave it, cater to that, and get that up. More tomatoes starting to grow on this plant. Some tomatoes, it's really interesting, come up this time of the year in the fall. And they seem to like the fall better, and then they grow all winter. I am not complaining. Lettuce. This is another type of dish pan. And I just plant lettuce in here, and now I've let it go to seed. I let the goldfinches come in and eat it, which is fine. And then I collect all the seed heads and crush them in and I still get dozens and dozens of lettuce, even though I let them eat it. This is all lettuce heads. All these you see there, all the brown, that's just heads from the lettuce. See, here's new lettuce coming up. I should pick some of this and replant it. Actually, I should just cater to that one. That one's doing really good. This I really didn't do anything with this year. As you can see, I still have totes I never finished. I'm going to compost that. That's a good place to grow radishes as well. Still looking, every month we look at that beautiful avocado tree, and I should yank it out of there, find a place for it, and see if I want to do something with it. Look at this. This is the carrots that I collect the seeds from and spread around, but I also take out the baby carrots that are growing in here, the plants, and I move them. They move so easy. So this has been like my carrot farm that I can move. And look at my purple basil. Is that cool? I love it. This is beautiful. A lot of this will grow because of the worm wall all winter. So we'll see. Popolo, also going to seed. The one on my deck is too. These are the flowers, and they'll open. They don't attract pollinators. So it's self-pollinating. And how do I know that? 100%. I grew one on the windowsill. It created flowers. It opened up, and I planted those seeds. Nothing was in the house to pollinate them. And you'll never see really bees or anything go to them. I don't think they like the smell. But that's great. That's perfect. Now, I don't like popolo. It's a very strong cilantro taste. But you can't dry it or save it, because once the leaf is dry, then it loses that flavor and smell and taste. So you want to use it green, and Gary loves it. Me, I grow it for him. So I have one here, one on the deck. Now there's one way down there in the meadow. So I've got him growing in different places, and he can collect them, bring them in, and put in his dinner. I'm not sure yet what I'm going to do here, but I might put cabbage. I've done really well with cabbage in here before. This is gone. This is the end of the basil plant. And if I chop it somewhere, I could take this and put it in the meadow. Then all those seeds will work their way into the ground, and I could have basil growing down there by the ponds. I might do that. Can clean all that out, and then I still have tomatoes growing in here. I see a lot of green tomatoes on there and red. So that's what's going on here. And I mean, even though I didn't take care of it, and I haven't had to water all week. It's still growing food. I come out here and I forage. And half the time I have no idea what I'm going to make. I told Gary I was making chicken yesterday, and last second, literally as the pots were coming out, I made chili. And I just foraged and put all kinds of stuff from the garden in it. It was so good. So I never know what I'm going to make, but I come out here, forage, and then I go into the kitchen, look and analyze what I've got, and that is the greatest way. Produce I don't need. I can buy a little bit, but most of the produce we've got here. But if I get organized, well, then I can get a whole lot more. Let's go into the front yard. Here's my front yard. Look, everything's wet. Everything. The cement, there's puddles. This is doing really good. I moved a tree colored here, which worked out really good, and look how happy the plant is. Just by moving it, it looks so much healthier. It actually was in the center there, and it was falling over in this center pot, and it looked terrible, so I yanked the whole thing out, and I put it here, and it just is taking off color-wise. I can't get rid of that bend because it was bent over, but that's okay. I'll stake it a little bit better and let it do its thing, and I can do cuttings off the side later on because I'm doing a lot of propagating. In there I got flat leaf parsley. There is a blueberry plant that's tucked in there. It was growing with the purple tree colored. I don't know if it's going to make it. We'll see. Look at the tomatoes. Look at this. There's 2 tomato plants in there? Yes, I believe there's 2. And so I have a smaller variety and a big one, I don't know, came up here. This, I believe, is broccoli, and I didn't plant anything in here. So I'm starting to collect leaves, and I'll dump the leaves in there and plant something. Another, this is a tree colored, I believe. And then I have this little, I believe it's a cocoselle squash. It's so old. See how old it is? It's kind of circling around. So we'll see if that does anything. It's going to get a lot of powdery mildew now. But if these leaves here are not doing anything, which they're not, I can trim those. See all the new growth? They're beautiful. I don't worry about the powdery mildew as long as it's not way too much. That's basically it. I haven't done a whole lot, but I am starting to put pots in there with walking onions and different things in there. I've got mint, so I'm slowly working my way in here and doing little things. I come out here and work a little bit in one place, a little bit in another. This is where the tree color came out of. So I left these 2 for now, and I'll decide later what I want to do. And then on the bottom here is just different geraniums, pieces that I rooted, and they're coming up. And there is that whole thing that was sitting somewhere else. It was on the bench in the back where the ginger's growing, way out by the chair garden, and I kind of threw them all on the ground and trying to see, oh, look at that. Oh, it must be celery. See the celery? That's celery. No, it might be flat leaf parsley. And it's leaning over. The seeds fell, and look at all the baby. You see that? All the baby celery is now growing, or flat leaf parsley. So that's really cool. It's self-seeded. There's a little bit of red vein sorrel there, came up from seed. There's a little bit more also from seed. And then garlic chives. Here I'm just rooting in this pot I had here some geraniums so I can move them somewhere. And then here I put some potato mint in here. And then this is the red roselle. So for now, I'm just putting it on the table. I wasn't sure what I was going to do with this table, but that's a good place for it for now. And then these were just here when we got the house, but look at this, tree colored. All right, so let's keep walking. Usually I have a lizard sitting here, but not in the rain. He's hiding. I picked up the flower pot at the thrift store the other day, and it was like, I think it was about $8, $9. I thought that might look nice, and I'll put some plant there, and it'll kind of hide the meter a little bit. And what's going on here? I still have the geranium cuttings coming up through here, and I really don't think I need the netting over it, the tool, but for now I will leave it. There it is. The ginger, turmeric, and stevia table, and zinnias, pink zinnia flowers. I planted one, and it's been dropping seeds, and it keeps growing and growing. This is the stevia with the little white flower. I have not really grown the seeds, not purposely. Sometimes they fall back in and grow. It seems to come back from its roots, usually like late spring. When everything else starts growing, it grows. But they're struggling with the cold. First, they were struggling with all the heat we had, and then the cold. But all in all, they're doing really good. Look how big they are. This is going to be a massive crop when I get in here, probably in January. January is when we really get cold and all this will die back brown. I'll get in here, I'll replant it, I'll freeze a bunch of it, wash it, dry it, freeze it in plastic bags, and then I'll have ginger and turmeric, and I'll plant a whole bunch more. I'm going to get a whole bunch more planted. See? Pink zinnias. Oh, and there's another one back there. See the seeds are falling? That little one back there? Those are zinnias. So they're just growing on their own, and I think it's wonderful. I'm trying to get more flowers around here for the hummingbirds and for the pollinators. And then here, see, this is what I do here. I walk around and I find walking onions that have fallen. And I've been putting it in a little cup with a little water. I don't need that much water. And then here I throw some skins in here. They're struggling. They're not getting enough sun. See, another zinnia. Now the turmeric, I've talked about that, will only be growing in buckets. The ginger I can put in a tote because they're easy to harvest. Turmeric is not, for me, easy to harvest because I don't want to have to lift that whole thing. Turmeric goes all the way down. When the rhizomes grow, they actually grow down. They may spread on the top like a ham, but they also go down, which means you've got to get to the bottom of the tote, where the ginger only grows on the surface. So it's really easy to just dump the ginger, but when you're actually looking for the turmeric, you would have to dump the whole thing because you could be missing out on a ton of wonderful big chunks of ginger towards the bottom. All right, let's go into the bird garden. Isn't this cool? Look at this. I bring compost out from the kitchen and it sits, and you know what? It doesn't matter. I see doves. They're all waiting. You go, give us more food. I never grew anything in this big thing this year, but that's okay. That plant's going to get composted, and then I will have all that wonderful soil to add to whatever I want, whether I'm doing cuttings, whether I'm setting up more pots or container gardening or anything. I have walking onions everywhere, so you'll see that just all over the place because I just stick them everywhere. And this is a tree collard. It's going to have to come down. Do you see how it broke? You probably see it each month. And now it's sitting on a chair, and I can't get to the back. And then back there, I've got some geraniums growing back there. I've got broccoli back there. Something went to seed. I'm not sure what. Malabar spinach back there. I do have in the corner, you cannot see, oregano is there. And then here is the original purple tree collard doing really good, but half of it's on the other side. I've got lemon verbena. Now this is going to die back as soon as we get really cold. It'll just look like sticks. And that's the tall plant there with the flowers. That's all lemon verbena. This is purslane. I had this growing on the deck, and the goldfinches love it, so I brought it. See, this is a 1 unit I make. I've got the videos on that. And the goldfinches come in and eat the seed pods, so I thought, you know, let's bring it out here. These are my old totes. They're, what, 7 years old, going strong. There is my mushroom plant. I thought it was dying back. I've got to get cuttings off of that. It's the only one I've got right now. More walking onions. Oh, do you know what? This might be a dazzling blue kale. And if it is, I need to get cuttings, but it's too straight. And then I've got more back there. So this is all just different things growing in there. Isn't that cool? I'm hoping to clean this up so I can do more walking through here. But I'm going really slowly. This is just so beautiful. This is all that you see here, dragon fruit plant. See, there's more flowers. Gary pollinated the other day. He had to run through and take all the red ones off because the birds found them. So he had to run and get all that off. So some of them we lost from the birds and some of them we've been eating. Isn't that really pretty? But it's like I'm losing all this space where I could have more containers. See what the birds do? They eat the greens. They're not dumb. They know greens are good. And then here, I'm setting this up. This is my pride and joy. Let me step back. Oh, he took out, it's been raining, so he's moving the bowls here for them to eat. And I can put them on the chair for them too, because I can wash the chair later. I love this. This is all growing, and you think so much of it is food. I've got collard over there. Let's look over here. That's the big leaves, the big round leaves there is collard, and it grows big, and even though what's going up is collard. And then I've got, well, there's more collard back there, just plain collard, not tree collard. These are tree collard. They have a little bit of a ripple to the leaves. Isn't this gorgeous? And then, of course, the zinnias, they just keep flowering, and I leave the heads, even though if I cut it, I would get more flowers, but I leave the heads if the birds want to eat it, and then I let the seeds fall, and they're falling everywhere. I just got different flowers in here for the hummingbirds. Okay, this broke, so we're going to want to take this off, and this is a beautiful straight stem, so I'm going to root that one. I'm going to sit this to the side right now, so I remember It's there, see? See how nice and straight that is? I can cut that and make about 5 plants out of that. That is beautiful. Okay, and then I've got the polka dot plants in there and all kinds of plants. There's another small tree colored in a pot. The birds actually take a bath in that bowl. Different birds. Here's the hummingbird right here in front of us. Got feeders everywhere, not just my kitchen window, which is bringing in a ton of birds, and I'm going through gallons of food a day, but I've got feeders spread throughout the property. You see, he's just right, he's literally 2 feet in front of me. You want to see him closer? They don't mind me. Hello. So that's what's going on with the birds. None of the solar fountains will be going right now because, well, we're in dark clouds. The sun's not even peeking through, but I've got 2 electric ones. That's all I've got on the property are 2. Now this one is actually burping. Look at that. And I do want to change a lot of my fountains out. I have much nicer ones that I've been working on. So I'm going to get in here and change it out, and the fig trees are going to start losing their leaves soon. But solar will work a little bit in the cloud. See, I've got the solar panels way up on the top, past all the leaves. Because if the solar panel gets a little bit of shade on it, sometimes they won't run, or they'll run very little even in full sun. But if you've got like a really dark cloudy day like we have now, but they're up high, a lot of times you still will get that little burp of water. But this is someplace I want to really clean up and get into more. This is all mint on the ground. I'll probably take a lot of that out. It won't matter, it will grow back, and the birds and the bees love it. Because see the purple flowers? This is very important. I just saw a bee fly by. He went into a little rose bush. This is important to them, and I happen to like it, and I know some of you are screaming, going, no, don't put mint on the ground. Here in Southern California, we really don't have a lot of water, so it's so easy to pull and rip up, and it will basically be gone. I could get rid of it. So I leave it in certain areas and let it grow. It's growing up into that container here, and I let it do its thing, and then the birds have places, and the lizards and the pollinators all have places to hide. And keep in mind, when you're putting out water, you can use a simple bowl with rocks, and the birds love that. They come to it all day. See my solar panels? But I am going to clean this up. That one fell. It's kind of sideways. So that is my goal, to get this going. Kitty's garden is so wild. I do have, okay. I do have broccoli. Let's take this off, and I'll bring that into her. I want to clean that up better, but it's growing. I keep getting broccoli. I'll put it in my pocket, and I'll bring it to her. And then I've got some tomatoes that came up, and it just needs to be cleaned up. I had a friend that said he was going to come over and help me clean. No, haven't heard from him since. He probably looked back at my garden and thought, maybe I better stay away. Isn't this gorgeous? So I'm doing a lot of cuttings. I want to get clean up all the geranium back there and put other geranium plants in there and other flowers. I don't know if I want Malabar spinach. It really takes over. And then get more different brassicas. This is my pride and joy. I'm calling it the RNG special. Look at that. Aren't they gorgeous? And in the fall, when our weather really cools down, the leaves get big and round and dark and green. I use that for everything. If any place I want to put some greens in there, I can chop it up and put it in there. I think of all the nutrients in there because of the color. See how light this is? See how dark this is? I don't know what it is. It came up from seed, and my guess is it's part dinosaur kale. I believe it's got dazzling blue kale because I had a big dazzling blue kale that was growing here. And then I think it's collard. So it's 3-way. I think something fell, threw some more seeds again, pollinated again, not with the tree collar. This has nothing, we did not have any tree collards flowering at the time at all. And I trim the tree collards when they flower anyways here. And I do believe it's got dinosaur kale, collard, and dazzling blue kale. And the reason is it will go purple a lot of times when the weather cools. This, I believe, is just collard. And it's growing in there. That's completely different. And yes, I see a fig tree I got to get out. So that's it. I'm still going to clean up all these. And instead of trying to tip out the old soil or do anything with these are old dog kennels that we picked up when a pet store got rid of them all. It was from the groomer department. I think I'm just going to put buckets in there. Clean this all out. Get rid of my last of my dazzling blue kale, that dead plant through there. That's the last of the dazzling blue. And then I'll just drop buckets in there on top of it so I can start the buckets fresh with big holes on the bottom so they can send their roots there. Because a lot of times if you've got a little bit it's not good to soil, let's say it's still flowing, but it's just hard packed, you can a lot of times have nature correct it for you. So I'm going to have nature work on that by putting in maybe 2 buckets in here and planting something separate. And then the earthworms will come and everything. Throw some leaves in there and then the buckets, and nature will take care of it. Oh, then really quick over here, I have yet to pick any sweet potatoes. I just let it grow. I've got sage in a pot. I've got more garlic chives. This was a nursery for baby walking onions, but it's walking here now because I haven't replanted those. Here's another little nursery. See, I can just come through here and just stick them in there and then move them later. See how they grow? You can't really store these. If you store them and that little bulb dries out, then they just die back. You'll end up with nothing. It doesn't grow. But when you take them off when the stem is dry and brown, and I don't have any to show you here, then you just push the bulbs in. I could separate these into 3, or I could leave the whole thing and it will grow in a clump. See, this is one big clump in here. So it depends on how you want to grow them. This is lemon balm. You know, it's starting to grow better from the center, so I'm going to cut this back. I had separated it twice, and I think I've got to separate it again. Some celery down there. Oh, and this was another stem that broke off. I've got it sitting in a pot, and I'm going to root it. That's some Swiss chard that broke off too, and I might root that. Yes, I have rooted Swiss chard. So what else? I haven't gotten to this yet, but I plan on it at some point. I think I'm going to put a couple chairs in here. Nothing fancy, but get it off the ground so I don't have to bend down and just be a little bit different height. Isn't that green and beautiful? And I'm going to have some totes on chairs and move all this around. I don't know if I'll leave the cage there. The cage is for the birds. It does protect them from hawks, as my gazebo does. You know all about that. I've done multiple videos on the gazebo where the birds are feeding down there. And no hawk can get a bird that's in there. And see how big the holes are? They go through that way, and they go through the other bars too. So I'm not sure. I'll see. And these are 4 o'clocks on the ground here. Those flowers, boy, those are weeds. Oh, look at this, a cocoselle. Look at that. I did plant some in here early on. I've got tomatoes coming up. I've got more eggplant. Let's see if we got any eggplant, because I did pick a bunch. No, this needs a good cleaning. All it needs is a good cleaning. I just have to come over here. I can sit down on a chair, clean it up, and let it go. Oh, that's beautiful. I got to get that off before something gets it. But I'm really happy with that. I am really happy with this garden. Technically, 1 garden would be enough. This would be enough. I don't need the rest of the gardens, but I actually enjoy trying different things. And it's not really costing me much, and it gives you ideas. That's what I'm hoping to do, is give you an idea. Even if you go, gee, she's stupid, I don't like the way she did it, I'm going to do it this way. Good. That's what I want. I want you to say, wait a minute, I got a better way of doing it. Like, I'm not going to grow papayas in an 18-gallon tote. It's just going to split the pieces. And then you're going to end up with tons of these papayas growing. And where are they going to go? I'm just kidding around. This was never planned. The papayas, you know about it. What, 4 years ago? I can't remember how long back. Maybe 3 years ago. I was composting in there, and all the seeds started to germinate and grow, and I left it. Is that cool? So what do I have? Papayas. I made a really good dessert the other day after dinner. A little cottage cheese, chopped up papaya, some berries. I have a blueberry plant that grows tiny blueberries. Threw a couple blueberries on there. And what else did I put in there? A chopped pepino. And it was so good. Gary said, what is this? I said, dessert from the garden, except for the cottage cheese. And he really liked that. And the papaya came from here. It was a small one. But boy, was it sweet and good. Let's see, back here, this is another moringa. They're not doing good with the rain. They're falling over. Look at that. They're not used to rain. Not this much all week. And then again, this is where I've been planting a lot of my plants. I've got the tree colored. That's purple tree colored. I've got a regular tree colored. Where is my pride and joy? Oh no, that's not a tree color. That's my pride and joy. See how dark the leaf is? See, that's in a pot with either no bottom or big holes. That one's in a pot, and that's growing really good. See that plant there? It was not in a pot, and it died. So it didn't get the water it needed. But when I have them in a pot, they do much better here because their soil is clay, and no matter what I do to it, eventually they die out, and otherwise these things can go for years. So by watering that pot when I come through here, I know it's going directly to the roots. This is important if you're losing plants because you've got to stop and analyze what we have here. We have massive pine trees, then we've got massive pepper trees, and they can send their roots all the way over from there to here, and they will rob the plants of nutrients and water. So when you've got a pot like that and you put water in it, you know it is getting to the plant roots. That one, obviously the water ran off, it didn't get to it, and eventually it died back. It's worked for all my tree collards, look at this, and all my plants that I planted there by simply planting them in a plastic pot and then watering the plastic pot. Oh, this is gorgeous. Okay, let's see, you've seen the papayas, so let's step out because this is just, to me, it's just beautiful. I can just stay in here all day. And then this is beautiful. I do a lot of cuttings off of this, and see this one's hanging here? As long as it's hanging, it's still feeding this plant. So I've got to get this cut soon, trim this back. I will eat these leaves or drink them. And then here I'll be able to get at least 2 plants off of it, and they're just so beautiful and purple. I just love this. Look how purple it is. You can't get any purpler than this. It's supposed to be, I guess it's a purple curly kale, but boy, this one's really purple. So when you have something like that, you really want to propagate by cutting, because if I collected seeds, if it went to flower, it doesn't mean it will look the same. Look at that, it's gorgeous here. So let's step outside now. Oh, I just saw the hawk take off. All right, so now we are out by the rainbow garden, but I'll walk over here real quick. This is for the hummingbirds. They absolutely love this. This is a fire dancer plant. And see, anything that's got kind of a cup look to it where they can get their beak in, that's what they really like. That means there's usually nectar in there. And then we've got the rosemary that I got at the 99-cent store, elephant food growing all through here. My pomegranates, they grew really, really good. I picked a bunch and I made drinks out of them. And then the papayas, that's a polka dot plant growing in a broken tote. I had a video where I trimmed it down and I put my polka dot plants there. Isn't that pretty? Just kind of for looks, for enjoyment, so I can come sit here if I ever have time and then be able to enjoy the plants. And then you saw this was growing in a bucket a while back, and I moved it and I planted that in a cardboard box so I can water the box so the water will go directly to the plant, and I'll know that it's getting good water, and hopefully it will set root in the ground, and I'll have to keep something around it, maybe even a couple extra totes. I'll put another one there because the totes feed the plant. So when I throw all the leaves and everything from the garden in there and trunks and stuff I clean up, it breaks down and it feeds the plants and the papayas. There's another one up there. And then the big one, of course, we lost that one a while ago. So that's it. Now we are in the rainbow garden. I've got potato mint growing. I have to keep the potato mint covered, even though it is growing out here. A hole developed in there, but you know what? The rabbits haven't bothered it. The rabbits do like eating it. This bucket I'm just gonna move. It just has Malabar spinach, and look at my red roselle. I've got a pepper plant back there that I grew from seeds from the grocery store. And look at the roselle. I planted a little bit of roselle. It's got a big 2 system. So I lift the green bucket and I throw leaves from the garden in there. And that works out really good. And anything that comes out of that is really good compost tea. So you want to make sure you save that. More potato mint, you have seen that. A piece got in here. I did not plant this. I had a squash growing in here, which obviously I still have a squash in there, but it's being overtaken by the potato mint. I'm going to leave the potato mint, and when this all dies back, just like potatoes, it's going to be full of these little tiny potatoes, and you can eat that either raw or cooked, and you usually would put that in a soup or a stew, or you can fry them. You can do different things with them, but they're very potato-like because they're 80% starch, the tubers. Look at that. That's a big squash that I've got to get off. This is the tomato plant that was being eaten by deer. The deer, I think, are gone now. So this tomato plant is making a big comeback. See all the tomatoes? So I'll keep it trimmed, and I have a bucket back there. Just a simple bucket with holes, and I load in leaves. And then this way I water the bucket and it slowly goes into the tote. There's my pitchers, and I can throw leaves and stuff in there. This is more squash, and oh, I was gonna say, did we have squash? Oh, see? Something got to that. So I'm going to have to get that squash off. And I will use that. I'll just cut off the part that they ate and I'll compost that. I love my pictures. Just go through and add things to it. And this is Korean melon. I've got a couple little melons starting on here. Now, I don't know what's going to be because our weather has changed so much, but we'll see. Hopefully they will make it. Normally we're really warm in the fall and we don't get our first rain until Halloween. So we're early. And this is another cutting off of that purple plant. See, it's in a bucket. My pepinos, turning a little yellow, so in case it's starting to go out, the plant, sometimes they last for quite a few years and suddenly they die back. I don't know. I'm taking the greenest cuttings off and I'm propagating them. This came from Gary's garden. It was just a cutting I went down there and picked up and stuck in this tote, and it grew and it just loaded with pepinos, and you use that either as a fruit or a vegetable. When I say that fruit, I think of sweet. Vegetable is not. If you use it when it's green, it's not sweet. If you wait till it's this color, then it's sweet, like a melon. I want to make sure I don't lose this plant because this has been very productive. So I'm going to do a lot of propagating off of this plant. I'm going to try to get the greenest. And it is still throwing green through here. See the leaves? New stems are coming up green. It might just be going through a leaf drop, but either way, I want to make sure I trim it back and get some cuttings off of it. Red vein sorrel. This is some more black cobra in a bucket. And then here's where the watermelon, I don't know if the rest will see. This is already, nope, this one's done. I'll leave that, and that will still be edible. It'll be small, but sweet. And then that one got really big. And this one might still be growing, but I think we're at the end. Watermelon season here with our weather down to 60. I think it's just going to be too cold for it, but we'll see what happens. Now the tomato plants that are growing in here should do really, really well. I think we're going to have tomatoes here all winter. We'll see. And then of course I've got the pitcher in there now, so I can feed that pitcher that will feed these plants. Oh, look at this. Another watermelon starting. Oh, this is the other watermelon plant. I trimmed it way back. So now it's trying to produce, but I don't know if it will be able to. So we'll see with the weather. And then this is a little bit, see, this is black turmeric. I had a tiny piece. It's doing really well. This you don't want. This is a carrot wood tree. So we don't want that. I don't need a tree growing in there. More potato mint, and of course more tomatoes. That was in a pot and it took over the whole tote. So I'm going to analyze this year if I want to grow more and set up more or just go straight with potatoes. I'm going to kind of think about it. And here's where I'm propagating. We'll get into this because I'm doing a whole video on this because there's a secret way that I'm doing this. This has been fabulous. See what I did here? That's a pepino and it was yellow when I picked it. See how yellow it is? Well, I wasn't sure if that was going to make it yellow, so I took a greener one. And they're both doing good, and if they both make it, that will be fine. But we'll get into this because I have a new way of propagating. And as you can see, every single plant took. Look at all the new growth. Everything took. I think you're going to be excited because not only is it working fantastic, it's cheap. So that is it. And let's see, oh, the pizza garden. Let's look at the pizza garden. I've been picking the peppers and freezing them. Look at that. These peppers are really nice. I think they are a cross of something that grew here because I had some baby bells, which I actually bought at the grocery store and planted and grew. And then I also had sweet peppers because it's not quite a sweet pepper, but it's not hot either. See all the new peppers? Because I picked all the red ones that were on there. You probably saw them a while ago. Well, now they're growing more. And then that tomato plant, I trimmed it all down. And then this one, I don't know what happened to it. Oh, I see a basil in there. That was my tricolored sage, and it suddenly just died back. So I mean, it's draining really good. Maybe it's lacking food. Who knows? But I do have a whole bunch on the deck. So I'm going to start doing cuttings in there and propagating them with my plants I'm propagating. Plain sage, onions down there. I'm going to say this is probably purple basil, but it might be a hybrid because it's both green and purple. That came up in there on its own. The rosemary is a cutting. You've seen that in a pot. And that tomato's doing good. So and then that's thyme. Finally, I can grow thyme. I'm not going to touch it. It's growing in its pot from the store, but the pot's got big holes on the bottom, so it set root in that bucket. But I'll have to dig out and see what's going on, even though the tomato plant is making a comeback. Something happened to the tricolored sage, and I think they're a little temperamental. And then here, I've got some onions. This is just walking onions again, and this is another purple tree color. Look at this. Anything straight like that makes perfect for propagating. This is nothing. This is a year-old spaghetti squash that nobody wanted. It's now a gourd. But look at here, I've got zinnias growing, and I cover it with these hoods I make, because if I don't cover it, the birds eat the little plants and I end up with less. So now I can separate a lot of those and plant them, and that's just the celery. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed this. This has been really fun. This will be my next project coming up real soon. Clean this up and get the buckets going, and then maybe trim the fig tree a little bit down. I look at this, I get ready to put the buckets out here, and then I thought, do I really want to deal with buckets behind the fig tree? But I think I do. I could turn around and put totes here and do buckets differently. I am not 100% sure. That's why I haven't rushed into it. I want to step back and think of how I want to do it. So that is the garden. This I just love because I can sit here and work on projects, which I'm starting to do more now. And I can work on plants here. I want to set up more propagating containers, and I really like using something that's very light colored so the sun can reflect in it, and it's working really good for the plants. So we'll get more into all this. This has been fun. If you have questions, please ask questions. Even though you may not get an answer from me right away, you might find it in a video. And there is something else I want to do. I want to thank all the members. I'm going to put a list of all my members, because this has just been amazing. You support our channel and we love it. I got a new mic. You know, I want to try to make things where you can hear me and I'm not popping peas, so I've got a mic on me. Hopefully it's recording. And of course, if you're just watching and you're not a member, of course, thank you all. We love everybody, member or not, but I just want to make a shout out to the members that have signed up, and thank you so much. So we're trying to get more things going and think of how to do it. It has been a little bit, personally, a rough month. There's been a couple of things going on. See, some of you have noticed that I was a little slow. You know, my mother hasn't felt that well, and my daughter didn't feel well for a little bit, but she's feeling better now. And you know what happened to my dog of 17 years. So it's kind of been a conglomerate of a few things here and there. But all in all, you know, life happens and we just have to work through it, and that's what we're doing. So with that, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it wasn't too long. Have a great day, and don't forget to eat what you grow. Wow. Bye-bye.